And welcome to Hannity. And in just a few short hours, the Democratic National Convention will officially get underway in the Windy City in Chicago, in Illinois. As you can see, the protests have begun. We'll have full coverage tonight. Also, we're going to give you tonight the definitive and complete guide to what you will see and hear all week long, and more importantly, what you will not see and hear all week long. Don't expect any big revelations. Look. Conventions, they're so choreographed that the convention itself will be scripted to the second. There will probably be more attention dedicated to smearing and slandering and besmirching Donald Trump than talking about their own candidates and their own failed records. And besides, party leaders, they'd frankly prefer, they've been doing a good job of it so far, I don't think it'll last, they'd prefer that you know nothing about Kamala and Tim Walz's radical positions. Look at this new McLaughlin poll, very revealing. It found a huge majority of Democratic and independent voters are totally and completely unaware of her support for eliminating private health insurance. And, of course, that would include universal health care and Medicare for all. They're unaware of her wanting to defund ICE, comparing them to the KKK, or her position of decriminalizing illegal immigration, and then free housing and education and health care. And, of course, defund, dismantle, no bail laws. And that represents, to me, think about this. That is a huge opportunity for Team Trump to educate and to inform the American people how radical, extreme, and they are dangerous. These policies are dangerous to the country. Now, make no mistake, the DNC will stay far and away. 4 very specific things. Now, they will not want to ever talk about Kamala, all the things she has said in her own words, or any previous far-left policy issue. They will avoid at all cost playing Governor Walz, in his own words, about his own radical beliefs. Thirdly, there will also be no mention of Kamala and Tim Walz's numerous flipping and flopping and flailing. See, it's very revealing. The campaign knows that if they tell you the truth and you hear them in their own words, the odds of them winning are next to zero. So they've got to hide it. And they're going to try to hide it, just like they hid Joe Biden in the basement all through 2020. And lastly, you're not going to hear about the, as you can see, beginning in Chicago, and this is the beginning of what will be a long week, the pro-Hamas lunatics, the people in their party whose support they need, protesting all over the city, that Kamala has been and continues to appease. They will try to ignore this crazy base that she needs to vote for her in order to win. Kind of like Democrats lying. Remember, all throughout the summer of 2020, nearly 600 riots. Let's see, dozens of dead Americans, billions and billions in property damage. Oh, that's right. Cops pelted with bricks, rocks, bottles, Molotov cocktails, thousands of injured cops. What did they tell us? These are mostly peaceful. You see images of cities burning. It's mostly peaceful. Anyway, they were lying. They were anything but peaceful. On this program, we will do our best to remind you who Kamala Harris and Tim Walz really are, who their supporters really are. You're seeing a lot of them right now marching on the streets of Chicago, and we will share all of their radical views. It's all up on my website, Hannity.com. You can download it, share it with friends, neighbors, coworkers. You can put it on social media, share it with strangers. Now, we start tonight with the border czar and her comments on Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency, or ICE as they call it. Take a look.
The Klan was what we would call today a domestic terrorist group.
Why? Why would we call them domestic terrorist group?
Because they tried to use fear and force to change political environment.
And what was the motivation for the use of fear and force?
It was based on race and ethnicity.
Right. Are you aware of the perception of many about how the power and the discretion at ICE is being used to enforce the laws? And do you see any parallels?
I do not see any parallels between
I'm talking about perception.
Officers and agents.
I'm talking about perception.
I do not see a parallel between what is constitutionally mandated as it relates to enforcing the law.
Are you aware that there's a perception?
Listen, I think there's no question that we've got to critically re-examine ICE and its role and the way that it is being administered and the work it is doing, and we need to probably think about starting from scratch.
Now, sadly, Kamala's hatred for border security doesn't begin and end with ICE. In fact, she apparently wanted or still wants to decriminalize all illegal immigration and, of course, as we told you, provide all illegal immigrants with your taxpayer-funded everything, and apparently thinks that a border wall is that's ridiculous. It's a vanity project of Donald Trump. And, he believed that terrorists would be invading the country, would want to come across our wide-open southern border. Why would anyone ever want to do that? That's crazy. Take a look.
You support giving universal health care, Medicare for all, to people who are in this country illegally?
Let me just be very clear about this. I am opposed to any policy that would deny in our country any human being from access to public safety, public education, or public health. Period. We have to have a secure border, but I am in favor of saying that we're not going to treat people who are undocumented and cross the border as criminals. That's correct. That is correct.
I believe if someone crosses over the border illegally, it is illegal, and you would decriminalize it.
I would not make it a crime punishable by jail. It should be a civil enforcement issue, but not a criminal enforcement issue. It's the height of irresponsibility for the commander-in-chief to suggest that we have to build a wall across our southern border because there are terrorists who are trying to invade the country. It couldn't be farther from the truth.
They're actually here. We know they're here. They confirm being here. Now, of course, this week, you also won't hear whether or not Kamala still supports these insane policies. Take a look at your screen, along with her big supporters in Chicago. The DNC is not going to dare mention the names of the people, those that were murdered, those that were raped, the victims of other horrific, violent crimes by the unvetted Harris-Biden illegal immigrants. They also, this week, they're not going to mention all the people with the terror ties that are confirmed in the country because of Kamala and Joe's open border policies, but they kept telling us for 3+ years the border's secure, the border's closed. And now she wants a pathway to citizenship. Well, a pathway to citizenship would be called amnesty. In other words, simply rewarding lawbreaking. Here's her, in her own words. They won't mention it this week.
We know our immigration system is broken, and we know what it takes to fix it. Comprehensive reform that includes strong border security and an earned pathway to citizenship.
And her Bernie Sanders running mate, well, isn't exactly, bringing anything better to the table. But the convention, it won't mention that Walz supports sanctuary cities and states and that he signed legislation to give illegals legal driver's licenses and free taxpayer-funded college educations. How nice of him to spend your money this way.
There is no moving too fast on driver's license for all.
Should Minnesota be a sanctuary state?
If the definition of that is that the federal government enforces immigration law and local law enforcement enforces local law, then yes.
Should cities be allowed to be sanctuary cities?
Yes, local control. He's not going to do anything. He talks about this wall. I always say, let me know how high it is. If it's 25 feet, then I'll invest in the 30-foot ladder factory.
30-foot ladder factory. How nice of them. Don't expect to hear this week about the, Walz or Kamala and their flip-flopping on the issue of defund, dismantle, no bail laws, even for illegals and every other criminal. Take a look.
Eliminate cash bail. I've been a leader on that in the United States Senate. Cash bail is not only a criminal justice issue, it's an economic justice issue, meaning people are sitting in jail because they don't have the money to get out.
Talk to me about the defund the police movement, and what do you think is the first piece of legislation that should happen towards reforming the police?
So at its essence, Andy, it really, I believe, is about reimagining public safety and how we achieve it.
Now think about this. Walz did nothing for days and days on end while Minneapolis was burning, although his family, they did open the windows to their family home. They wanted to smell burning rubber from the riots. People died. Police were injured. there was hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars in property damage because he did nothing at all, and they even burned down a police precinct, ransacked business after business, setting fire to many of them along the way. But the DNC, by the way, they're not going to mention, that 4 days after the police precinct was burned to the ground, that Kamala Harris herself tweeted out support for that Minnesota bail fund. And as a result, they raised over $40 million. That money was used to release rioters and other violent offenders, including those accused of murder, onto the street. And she famously told, of course, ever so not funny Stephen Colbert, take note, beware. They're not going to stop. They shouldn't stop. We're not going to stop. Take note, beware. Look.
This is a movement, I'm telling you. They're not going to stop. And everyone beware, because they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop before Election Day in November, and they're not going to stop after Election Day. And that should be, everyone should take note of that on both levels, that they're not going to let up, and they should not.
Beware, take note, they're not going to let up. Anyway, nearly 600 riots, a couple of dozen dead Americans, thousands of injured cops, billions in property damage as a result. By the way, Liz Cheney and Never Trumpers, your silence is deafening because I think she sounds like an insurrectionist and riot supporter. But, of course, no investigation. But this won't be mentioned this week either. They also won't discuss the insanity of Biomics, which until recently, Kamala was praising as her own, too. Think it's the greatest thing ever. She's proud of it. Take a look.
All that, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else, that is called Biomics. That is called Biomics, and we are very proud of Biomics. And as today's jobs numbers make clear, Biomics is working.
Forgot to mention that strange, nervous, giggling thing that goes on all the time. Anyway, they're not going to mention Harris-Biden inflation, up over 20+% overall from when Donald Trump was president. Take a look at your screen. Every American is paying more for everything they buy in every store that they go to. Now, ironically, in her speech Friday on price gauging, which she was supposed to say price gouging, take a look.
As president, I will go after the bad actors. And I will work to pass the first ever federal ban on price gauging on food.
No price gauging. She also referenced how badly people are feeling economically and the high prices of everything. She didn't mention under their watch, but take a look.
As president, I will take on the high costs that matter most to most Americans, like the cost of food. We all know that prices went up during the pandemic when the supply chains shut down and failed. But our supply chains have now improved, and prices are still too high. A loaf of bread costs 50% more today than it did before the pandemic. Ground beef is up almost 50%.
Now she's saying on the campaign trail, she's going to fix inflation. Day one, she's going to tackle inflation. I have a question. Kamala, where have you been? You've been the vice president of this country for nearly 4 years, and you bragged that you're the last person in the room when all these important decisions were being made. You're proud of that. So in other words, you're responsible for it. Take a look.
President Biden always said that he wants you to be the last person in the room, particularly for big decisions, just as he was for President Obama. He just made a really big decision, Afghanistan.
Yes.
Were you the last person in the room?
Yes.
And you feel comfortable?
I do. And I'm going to add to that. This is a president who has an extraordinary amount of courage.
Oh, another disaster, by the way. If she's the last person in the room when all these big decisions were made, why did she lie over and over again and say that the pullout in Afghanistan was fine, inflation is transitory, and brag up until now how great Bidenomics is, and lie and say that the border was secure, even though she never went there, but she never went to Europe either. And by the way, her socialist scheme to fight price gauging in the grocery industry is ridiculous. It's costly. It would decimate the entire economy. Didn't work in the 70s for the in this country. Didn't work in the former Soviet Union, Venezuela. Why does she think it would work now? Now, the profit margin in the grocery industry is only 1.6%. That is the lowest level in like 5 years. And get this, not too long ago, she vowed she would use the power of the federal government to steal, to take patents, if she doesn't like how companies are running their company. Take a look. She has the power to do it.
I will snatch their patent so that we will take over. And yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do that. It's the question is, do you have the will to do it? I have the will to do it.
You spend billions, and yes, we could do. Well, let's just steal it from you. That's the power of government. This week, don't expect to see any mention of that plan to steal patents from private companies. They also won't mention this week that Kamala cast a tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act. Now, that's the one that allocated billions and billions of dollars to the IRS with a plan to specifically go after service workers and take on their tips and tax them, which she's now flipping on. Take a look.
The yeas are 50, the nays are 50. The Senate being equally divided, the Vice President votes in the affirmative, and the bill, as amended, is passed.
They're going to hide all of this week. She's not going to mention that she referred to higher gas and energy prices under the Harris-Biden administration as the cost of democracy. You love paying more, don't you?
President Biden has said that Americans will feel some pain for the sake of defending freedom and liberty, but there does seem to be no end game in sight. How long should Americans expect? How long should we be bracing for this really sort of historic inflation and some unprecedented gas prices?
So we are committed in everything we are doing. And yes, then the president did say in the State of the Union, there is a price to pay for democracy. You've got to stand with your friends.
Now, they inherited next to zero inflation rate from Donald Trump. Gas prices on average less than $2.50 a gallon, and you have now been paying anywhere from an average of $3.50 a gallon or higher the last 3 years, all in the name of her radical, socialist, Marxist, redistributive, statist Green New Deal. But they won't mention she supported a complete ban on fracking or drilling either. She's trying to flip and flop on that. Take a look.
Will you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking your first day in office, adding the United States to the list of countries who have banned this devastating practice?
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So, yes.
So would you ban offshore drilling?
Yes. And I've, again, worked on that.
Now, apparently, she only changed the position since she became the presumptive nominee. Nobody believes this is real. Her staff knows that she will lose this race if Americans fully understand how extreme and radical she is and, frankly, how dangerous these policies are. So this week, they're not going to mention she supported, co-sponsored in the Senate with Bernie Sanders, the Medicare for All bill, universal health insurance, the elimination of your own private health insurance. So much for Keep Your Plan. What does the government run well? The post office? Social Security and Medicare, they're headed towards insolvency. They're going broke. How's Obamacare working out for you? Millions of Americans lost their doctors. Millions lost their plans. And the average American isn't saving a penny. You're paying about 300% more. Again, she co-sponsored in the U.S. Senate also the $93 trillion Green New Deal. Call it communism, socialism, statism. But capitalism has been the single greatest wealth creating system ever designed by man. That will cease to exist if she's elected and her Green New Deal, and she would eliminate the filibuster to do it, ever went into effect. This, too, will be hidden all week long. And, you know, you're not going to hear much about the insanity of her foreign policy views, like her stance on having the courage to say no longer say radical Islamic terrorism or illegal alien. Those are forbidden words with Kamala.
You must have the courage to object when they use that term, radical Islamic terrorism, which ignores how Muslims have overwhelmingly been the greatest victims of terror. And we must also have the courage to reject that term, illegal alien. I have seen some of the worst of criminal behavior. I have seen the worst of crime. An undocumented immigrant is not a criminal.
Now, this is madness. Under the Harris-Biden administration, the world is deteriorating before your very eyes. Ukraine, their policy has been a disaster, and Putin, Russia, emboldened. President Xi, China, emboldened. Kim Jong-un, North Korea, emboldened. War in the Middle East made possible in large part because Harris-Biden, they turned a blind eye to Iran, the #1 state sponsor of terrorism, to sell oil in the world markets, and they got hundreds of billions of dollars. They waived sanctions to allow tens of billions into the hands of the mullahs in Iran. They even wanted to give them $6 billion themselves in ransom. The result, Iranian proxy wars have escalated. Iran planned and plotted and schemed and provided weaponry for the October 7th attack. And when Iran fired weapons directly at Israel, well, okay, Harris and Biden, they did help Israel in their defense, but they surrendered, refused to support Israel in their right to retaliate and win their war against terrorists that killed the equivalent of 40,000 Americans in a single day. And by the way, that has been their policy. All Harris-Biden did was pressure Israel constantly. Show restraint, take the win. They didn't hit you with many rockets, when they should have supported the full, complete victory against the people that murdered, raped, tortured, kidnapped, and beheaded their own citizens. They show weakness, they show appeasement, and a degree, frankly, of utter ignorance at a level that is beyond chilling and scary for the entire world. If America abandons its role on the world stage as the leader in the cause for liberty and freedom, well, this is the predictable, sad, and tragic result. But this is what you will see in Chicago this week. None of that. But you will see free vasectomies and abortions paid for by Planned Parenthood. They get a whole lot of money from your tax dollars. We'll hear also about, unlimited abortion, no restrictions on abortion whatsoever until the moment of birth, brought to you courtesy of both Harris-Walz. Then you're going to, of course, hear they've advocated for gender-affirming care with no parental notification. Oh, parents, they're just mere obstacles in the way. And by the way, Tampon Tim wants female hygiene products in boys' bathrooms in school. Now, of course, this week in Chicago will be a complete Adam Schiff show, as, we're going to be showing you tonight. But they will definitely try their hardest to ignore the expected chaos and rioting all around the convention. Those are their supporters. Now, coming up, Chicago bracing for thousands of anti-Israel protesters. They have already taken to the streets tonight. We'll show you what's going on as we continue this Sunday night edition of. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.